So I'm actually not much of a theist, like alternate Tuesdays, because that's not really part of how I function. But I'm very much interested to what I don't know, and then finding that mystery, or in another way to put it, finding surprise.
Hello, listeners. I'm Jean Kelly, the host of Read, Pray, Write, and I'm taping today at the Wildgoose Festival in Hartford, North Carolina. Great place to have this, alongside Dr. Amy-Jill Levine. And welcome,
Thank you very much.
So great to have you here. And this is a gathering of Christian creatives of all denominations and just faith people of all denominations, backgrounds, and confessions and orientation, where everyone's welcome and all are loved. And this is my first time. It's also your first time.
It's not. Well, I'm not an evangelical. I'm not a Christian at all.
No, not a Christian at all.
What, Christian adjacent?
You're Christian. I love that. Christian adjacent. And so your two current books out are coming out soon. Can you tell us about those just briefly?
Yeah, so two coming out in August 2024. One from Harper One is called Jesus for Everyone, Not Just Christians. Actually, the original title the press wanted was Jesus for Atheists, so I wrote it like that, and then they decided they didn't like it. They thought it could be broader, and I said, well, I've been telling you that all along. So it was delayed in publication because I had to rewrite the intro. And it's not the sort of book that asks, what would Jesus do? Because I think that's not a great question. Jesus doesn't live in a participatory democracy with good social media.
Right.
But I'm looking at stories told by Jesus, like parables, stories told about him, like some of the controversy stories, to use the Bible to help us think our way through contemporary issues like gender and sexuality, or questions of slavery and the effects of slavery, economics and politics, healthcare, family values, and so on. And then there's a book coming out on the Gospel of John, because everybody at some point ought to write a book on the Gospel of John. And that's part of the Abingdon Beginner's Guide series.
Well, I can tell you, as a Christian from the Catholic tradition, I really appreciate the Beginner's Guide to Scripture, because we're notoriously don't know our Bible. And I just find your writing highly engaging. Your perspective really adds a lot from kind of a comparative religious standpoint. And she's a very distinguished scholar.
I'm really smart.
Yes, of Jewish and New Testament studies, right? And she was held many endowed chair academic positions, and as an academic, I just want to make a note of that. Yay! One of the things I hope happens out of this podcast is just inspiring people to go deeper in Scripture or other texts. That's kind of my philosophy, which is any kind of stimulus, external stimulus, could be the way to start the internal work, and so to remain open to mystery, open to that shimmering, or that
absolutely
in your heart, that quickening. And so I was kind of curious, is there anything like spiritual reading practice in the Jewish traditions?
Mostly we argue.
Yeah, that's very good too.
Because studying scripture is for us actually a form of worship. To study is to worship. Synagogues, particularly Eastern Europe, like Federal and Rebbe synagogues, in fact, my synagogue, we call them shuls. Why shul? Because it comes from the Middle German shul, a school. So the synagogue is a place where you go not only to worship, but you also go to study. And to study, we don't do it on our own because we don't have the capacity to do that. We only have partial capacity. So the idea is you get a study buddy, in Hebrew called a chaber, and you study with your study buddy. And if you're lucky, it's like playing chess or playing tennis. You want to study with somebody who's a little bit better than you, because you can up your game. And then once you think you got it, well, the teacher comes in and says, well, have you considered this? Have you considered this? Here's another text. We do not ever have the pressure on us to say, what's the right reading? Because there are multiple readings. There's a statement in rabbinic sources, Shiva Panim Torah. The Torah has 70 faces, as if the Torah is a beautiful, cut diamond, and every time you turn it, it hits the light differently. So every verse, every time you look at it and you emphasize one word over another, or you think, here's how this word was used elsewhere, here's how this image shows up elsewhere, or here's what I was reading that had nothing to do with the Bible, and now I come back to it.